These places we've been, we might never be again. So let's not forget, not forget, not forget. The faces we've seen, we might never see again. So let's not forget, not forget, not forget. Window panes and picture frames, the things we use
Like that?
to help us see the way things change. We ride on our horse, so we don't forget to remember
Okay, alright, I'll
moments we shared in the end. This place has we've been, we might never be again. So let's not forget, not forget, not forget.
We are so excited. Today is not only our first guest appearance, we have our first guest on our podcast, but it's also our first YouTube video. So we have our channel, but we haven't uploaded any of our videos yet. We haven't recorded our entire segments during our podcast. But today that all changes. We are going to have Steve Weiss on. He is the owner of Home Care Evolution, and he was actually just featured on New York Finance top entrepreneurs to follow. So
Yes.
a huge congratulations to Steve. We are so excited.
Congratulations.
We're very, very excited for you, and it is truly well deserved. And we couldn't have picked a more perfect guest to have for our first guest on our show. We truly feel honored and really lucky, and we hope that you guys will gain some knowledgeable information from today's show, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So please stay tuned. Listen, watch, and provide us some feedback after the show.
Yes, enjoy everybody.
Thank you. We're good. Hi, how are you?
Great. Things are going well over here. It's always a fun day at Hurricane Marketing Enterprises.
Busy, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I've been burning the candle at both ends, but it's all for the greater good. So like it's interesting as we're about to get started, but I started my company 10 years ago, and it's been a wild ride. And now this year I'm going through a whole rebrand with everything and changing our focus from focusing on specifically on sales and marketing to really overall scaling these home care businesses in all aspects of it, operations, financial, even exit planning, getting started, all the other good stuff. And so with a rebrand brings its own challenges. It's almost like starting another business from scratch. And then I decided, for whatever reason, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, launching a magazine at the same time.
I
But the magazine is really exciting, but it's just a lot of hours on top of what I'm already doing. But it's one of those things, it's like 3 months, 4 months, and then all of a sudden I'll hit my stride, standard operating procedures. I hired a bunch of new people who are now filling in their roles and responsibilities. And so it's just bringing it all together until we get everything so that it's kind of like a clock and the cogs are going like they're supposed to. So
And then it's all worth it.
Yeah.
At
And then
that
it's all
point, you
worth it.
see all the sacrifice being.
and this starts
Yeah.
coming in, and it is. Now. It's finally starting. Like, oh, good. 3 months of busting my ass. Now I'm starting to make some cash. So
Yeah,
That's what it's all
exactly.
about,
That's
the
the
hard
goal.
work,
Yeah. You put in all that effort, and that's what you get in return. But we wanted to congratulate you first on being featured on the New York Finance. That was nice. That was,
Congratulations.
well deserved.
it was definitely a great honor when they reached out to me and they asked me for my information, and it's from the social media. So it's interesting. My son actually had told me a couple weeks ago he wants to be a YouTuber when he grows up, and at first I was like, is that really a thing? And then I'm like, wait a second, I'm a YouTuber for decades. So yes, you
It
can
was,
be it.
yeah.
So, but that's how they found me. They saw all the stuff that I'm doing, and they saw a lot of the conferences. Even with part of the rebrand, with the videos I make, I now put a lot of footage of me speaking at events in it. And so now all of a sudden it really changes the dynamic from people, does this guy know what he's talking about, to wow, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about because he's speaking to all these people. So it's been a wild ride.
So now your business is the Hurricane Marketing Enterprise. That's the new the new business? Tell us a little bit about we know that you are the owner of Home Care Evolution, right?
Yes. So Home Care Evolution's the rebrand. Hurricane Marketing Enterprises, that's a
That
parent
was where it all
company.
started.
It's where it all started. It will still be, as even with the Home Care Evolution, I kept the Hurricane brand icon because this actually has a lot of recognition from our following, from our target audience. So I kept this as part of it, even though the name is a little bit different. And then my professional name is Steve the Hurricane. And Steve the Hurricane is something that my old business partner, way back when I was 25 years old, he gave me the nickname and it just stuck. And so when I started Hurricane Marketing Enterprises in 2012, I got my name professionally trademarked. And so Steve the Hurricane owns everything that is Hurricane Marketing Enterprises and all of the subsidiaries and everything else.
So you said when you were 25, so you've always been an entrepreneur. You've always been kind of starting your own business and doing your own thing.
If I were to go to my background, it was since I was 14. And actually, I could probably go back even earlier than that to maybe when I was like 12, 13. And I was on the bus hawking blow pops in the back of the bus for 25 cents a piece. And it was a great markup. You could buy a box of 100
Then
blow
you wonder
pops.
why your son wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
But
smart.
it was like $6 for a box of blow pops, and if you sell them for a quarter a piece, you make $25. So it's $19 profit. I'm like, I love this, and I could do this while I'm on the bus. Like,
We call that marketing. We call that hustling.
hustling. I was a hustler, right?
There you go.
It's always been in my blood, and I just that's how life is supposed to be, right? It's what you make of it, and so I'm a big believer in hustling to get to where I want to be from a monetary standpoint, and then also making time to enjoy it. I think about how many people we all know, like especially in the last year with everything that had happened the last couple of years. We all know somebody who lost somebody. And then we also know those people who lost people premature. Like if somebody passes away and they're 80, 90 years old, it's sad, but it's a celebration of their life. They lived 80 years. Somebody passes away at 40, that's devastating. That person died halfway to life expectancy. So you got to have that balance. Work hard, make the money, achieve things, but you also got to have time to celebrate and spend time with your family. If kids are what you want, make them. If you want to get married, get married. Like you gotta find that balance to do both.
I agree.
Yeah, life is short. It really is short. So you got to enjoy it too. So what is Home Care Evolution?
So Home Care Evolution with the rebrand, it's really a one-stop shop for people who own a home care business. So if somebody owns a home care business, there's a lot of challenges that are unique to this specific business. For example, it's not just I have to market to get customers, but I have to market to get customers and I have to market to get workers to take care of those customers. So it's almost like a two-part sale that you have to do. And that's why it's so difficult to own a home care business, because you can't just send anybody in the house. It's got to be somebody who's skilled, who has the experience and the know-how and the training. And then when it comes to getting patients, you're talking to somebody who's 80, 90 years old or above, and they need a lot of help, and this stuff is not cheap. You're talking about paying $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 a week for a private caregiver to come in and take care of them. You have to know how to be able to do all aspects of it. And so that's what we help these agencies do, how to get more patients, get a larger workforce, compensate the workforce based on their experience so that then they can help people who have very great needs. A quick example, dementia. Someone's becoming mentally incapacitated. They are a wander risk. If, God forbid, they get in their car and drive away, they have no idea where they are. They end up several states over. These are very real things that happen to the elderly. And so if this is your mom or your grandma, you're like, what happened? So you have to have somebody come in and take care of her. Well, you can't just send, it's not like a babysitter where you can just send anybody in. You've got to send somebody who knows how to do it. So I teach these agencies how to find the right people, build training programs around specific diseased groups that the elderly are dealing with, and then build a specialty business on how to cater to that type of client, so that when people contact them, not only are they meeting expectations, they are like an answered prayer to these families.
Almost like, just exceeding their expectations. That's nice. Very nice. Yeah. I get like a business coach vibe out of you too. Now, do you do any like business coaching or yeah, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. So it's an unofficial part of my company. Like I have products that I offer, and people buy those products all the time. As a matter of fact, this one right here, the
Yeah, I
Small
was looking
Business
at that
Success
last year.
System. So this is like
Grace checks out the background.
Yeah, I was like the
I
yeah.
design.
I always you think it looks fake. It's not. This is
I
a
know it looks
real.
it's really nice on the top.
That's
Like
actually on
design
the
and color.
wall.
Yeah.
And that's like 8 feet. It's huge. But the Small Business Success System, it's six different video training or 6-part modular course that people can use to help them with converting high sales. Say you're a consultant and you have a contract for services, and your services are $4,000, $10,000. Well, if you don't know how to sell, you're going to have a hard time getting people to sign up for that kind of a contract. Inquiry management, when people are contacting you for services, yeah, everything is digital, but again, if I got a product or a service that's $20,000, eventually I'm going to have to be able to speak to somebody. No one is going to just give you their credit card information for a $20,000 product online, or nobody of sound mind will do that. And so there's a lot that goes into it. I talk about how to create power partners, because every industry, no matter what you do, say you own a pizzeria, right? So if I own a pizzeria, well, a big part of my business could be catering. So I want to know, who are all the event planners, who are all the party planners. Those are my power partners, because the event planners, they're looking for caterers, me, and they have people who are looking to do jobs and parties and everything else. So they need to be able to have somebody who has a good service, is how I help them. And so that's somebody who's constantly feeding me business, and we're going back and forth. So that's an example of a power partner. And there's other aspects that are in there too, but those are all universal things. And I try to put out videos and then just use my social media presence where people see that what I'm doing. I've had a lot of folks reach out to me and say, Steve, just seeing how hard you work, all the different things you're doing gives me ideas and motivates me to work harder in my business. Being a business owner is tough. There's a reason why 90 or 80% of businesses fail in the first 3 years, because it is hard when it's all on you. And a lot of folks don't realize that first 2-3 years, it's not, you see me driving the $100,000 sports car now, but in the beginning, it is,
It's
you're
sacrifice.
scraping every penny and every dollar, and money is
You're
not
putting
coming
so
in.
much money into all of it. You're not really,
Right.
and you're not even making money yet. So that's that risk you take.
That's
One of
over
those
100
yesterday.
grand easy
Mhm.
in the first couple of years of getting started, but it's that 100 grand helped me generate over 10 million, so it's risk reward, and then hundreds of hours a month, but it's risk reward.
Exactly. So do you do any like in person or for, where people can kind of go see you for motivational speaking, or is it just primarily through your videos and through what you have there?
So I do a lot of conferences. I have my own conference that people come to. The Home Care Evolution Conference is my 10-year anniversary event coming up in June. That's a home care specific one. Oftentimes I speak at chamber events. I've spoken at the 4% event. 4% is I don't want to say network marketing, because it's not. It's more of an affiliate marketing, internet-based group, and the reason why it's called the 4% is basically it's the top 20% of the top 20%, which is the 4%. And so I was the master of ceremonies for that 3-day conference in Orlando. There was about 2,500 people present at that event. So I mix it up with where I speak at different events, and sometimes some of it's motivation, some of it is instructional, or a blend of the two. I'm what's called a presentainer, which is someone who's going to present you information in an entertaining way, so that 90 minutes goes by and you're like, wow, I can't believe that was an hour and a half. I want more, and so that's where I do a lot of that. And then obviously with my YouTube reach, because that has an infinite reach. So I do a lot of YouTube videos. LinkedIn is probably one of my biggest.
What's your YouTube channel? I didn't know you had a YouTube channel.
It's if you just look up Steve the Hurricane.
Okay.
You'll find me.
And where did the title Hurricane? I hear that a lot. Where did that title come from?
So Steve the Hurricane came from my business partner, Brian. And what happened was he I was his director of business development first. That's how it started out. So I worked for him for 6 months, and he had a company that was doing like $700,000 a year in total revenue, which is it's a modest business, but it's nothing. He's not doing over $1 million a year in revenue. It's a small business, whatever. And I took it and helped him grow it to $1.2 million within 6 months of working for him, and so he knew that I was getting multiple job offers from other businesses in the healthcare space, and he never wanted to lose me, and I wasn't going to leave him. I mean, he's the one who helped me get into healthcare, but he gave me a ridiculous raise, and he gave me a profit share compensation where basically for every dollar of profit that I bought into his company, he gave me 25 cents on the dollar. And I said, if you're going to compensate me based on my performance and based on, what I bring to the table, then I'm going to be a force of nature out there. And he goes, I want you to be a hurricane. You are Steve the Hurricane. And the rest is history.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. How did it go into the healthcare fields? But I guess you just answered that. So he's the one that introduced you to that. Okay.
Yeah, I left a company I was miserable at, and I went on 5 interviews, and I received 4 job offers. And I was like, wow, I can choose where I want to work. And his opportunity was not the most lucrative, but it was one where I saw an opportunity. And maybe so for your listeners, I would totally recommend that if you are looking for a job or you're looking to do something, you want to see what is the opportunity here. So when I had those 4 job offers, 3 of the 4 paid more and 1 was the same. Or yeah, that's how it was. And so Bryant was among the lowest compensation. But I said to myself when I came in, this company is a small company. He's the owner, and there's a part-time office manager and a couple of other people here. If I play my cards right, I will own this company in a couple of years. And then by 2009, which was 4 years later, that's when he made me his business partner. I owned the company with him. I became the vice president. And so it's almost like I manifested it, and I knew the opportunity, and I made that happen over the next 4 years. But hey, at 28 years old, I was the owner of a multi-million-dollar healthcare business. And we flipped and sold that company a couple of years later. But it all started from taking that opportunity from the interview when I saw the opportunity.
Yeah, that's good advice for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs? I know I have a couple entrepreneurs, successful people that have started their own business. I was talking to one yesterday, and I was mentioning the interview that we had today, and she's like, oh, I'm definitely going to be listening to that. So do you have advice that you can give them, or what would be something that you would definitely want them to know or to take away from this?
So I'll say 3 things. So first and foremost, when you're starting a business or even when you're in the growing of it, right? Get yourself as financially lean as possible, meaning lower your expenses. So when I look back over what one of my biggest mistakes was, here I am, I'm the vice president, part owner of a multi-million-dollar healthcare firm. I'm making, almost $200,000 a year. I had the expensive cars. I had all this other great stuff or whatever. And then we sell that company for several $1 million, and I get a large cut of that. I'm not a multimillionaire. The original owner is the multimillionaire, but I'm a high 100,000-aire, we'll say, right? I get all this money at one time.
You're not doing too bad.
Right. And I'm 28. At the time, 29 years old. So, I'm still relatively young. And so I'm like, well, now I'm going to start a business. And I kept that lifestyle. And what happened was not only did the business humble me, I bled through a lot of expenses because I couldn't cover the payments on all that stuff. And so if somebody's going to be a business owner, stay as lean as you possibly can financially. Don't come into it with all of these expenses and have a car. Yes, it's a piece of crap, but own it. No car payment. You know what I mean? Like you want to be able to put as much money into the business as possible and that blood, sweat, equity in the business as possible to get it to a point where it's sustained. Because now if I had to live off of what I was making then, I couldn't do it because my income is so much higher now. But it was a process to get there. So that's the first advice: get lean financially. The second advice I'd say to do is make sure, just like you see Shark Tank all the time, they don't want to work with people who are not full-time in their business. So when you start your business, yes, you can start it while you're working full-time. I don't want to say you can't, because it can be done. But the sooner you can go full-time in your business and just take that leap of faith, the faster it's going to get to where you want it to be. It's never going to be where you want it to be from the get-go, but it'll get there much faster with 100% undivided, focused effort. And then the last thing I would give to somebody is make sure that you have a burning desire for the business. You'd better love this business, because if you don't love this
It'll
business,
show.
you're not going to do it, and you will fail.
Yeah. She's an esthetician. She's been for 6 years, almost 7. And I keep pushing her to just kind of go on her own
and do my own business as well. It is very, very nerve-wracking. And you always have like the I don't want to say fear, but it is kind of like a fear in the back of your head. Like, how do I start? Where do I go? How do I begin? What do I do?
And that's what I told her. I said, well, she got her LLC. So I've been telling her, just money, have a separate account where you're just putting money to the side, save it, don't touch it. And this way, you have a healthy cushion to start. But and that's what I said yesterday. It's just that leap of faith. But if you can believe in yourself, you have to really believe in yourself, and you're going to work hard for it and put your everything into this business. You can do it. You just have to really believe in yourself and take that leap of faith.
And I'll tell you, you're 100% right. It is that leap of faith. And you mentioned fear. And it's okay to have fear. Like if you didn't have fear, then I would be concerned, because then it means that you're not as vested in it as you should be. So there should be some fear. But when you think about courage, what is courage, right? Courage isn't, facing, if courage doesn't exist without adversity. So you have to have that fear. Courage exists because you're succeeding in the face of fear. It is all on you. You could fail at this, but at the same point in time, and this is what I tell people when you look at fear, if you're working for somebody else and their business goes under, they can fire you at any time. If you are working for somebody else, even if their business isn't going under, and if you're not performing to the way they want you to perform, they could let you go. Or if you are performing the way you want and they're not rewarding you the way that they should be, well, that's also against you, right? So all of the fears that we currently have, and when you look at, gas prices are going up and all these other things, we need to be able to have more control over our income. If you have a real solid business model, something that can and will work, and you believe in it, go at it. But just be ready to give it 100% effort. Be ready for that first couple of years to put in a solid 80 to 100 hours a week, because that's what you're going to do. But once you start getting that revenue coming in and you figure out your processes and it becomes standard, that's where your income quantum leaps. And top 1% income earners in this country are making over $800,000 a year for themselves, not their businesses generating. They are making over $800,000 a year. And when you're in the top 1%, I mean, you can pretty much do anything you want. You can set up your future. You can set up your kids' futures. The world is yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
We will get there. So your magazine, so that's something that you're working on, or is that something that's, it's in the process now, right?
As a matter of fact, that's the cover. It's not the actual magazine. It's just a cover, but it's coming. I'm actually speaking as soon as we finish filming here. I'm going right to another meeting with the magazine publisher, but
nice. That's
I'm very excited about it. It's something that I kind of fell into it. It's remember I was talking about Power Partners at the very beginning here. So as a professional speaker, I know countless other professional speakers. And when the pandemic came and everything shut down, events just all but stopped. Nobody was getting together in person. And so being a professional speaker, a lot of folks went to the Zoom format, which I was just, give glory to God. I already had everything in modular courses. I was already doing trainings online, and people were hesitant to doing trainings online. And then when the pandemic hit, they're like, I need training. And
They were
it's
so
like,
grateful for that. That was nice. You were ahead of the game. Yeah.
I've been doing this for 4 years, So it was a blessing. But when I reached out to her at the end of last year just to kind of catch up and see what she was doing, she was talking about magazines, and I'm like, tell me more about that. And she was telling about her processes and what she does. And I was like, as a professional speaker, as a consultant, as somebody with, tens of thousands of followers on all of my platforms, the magazine just seems like the next logical media for me to do. And she's like, well, I didn't want to tell you that I think you'd be great for this because, we're just catching up, but I think you'd be great for this. And the biggest challenge is just really understanding how much effort goes into putting it all together, but getting the articles. People wanted to write articles. That was something that was a lot easier than I expected. So I write one article for every magazine, but we're going to have 9-10 articles per magazine issue. And my clients, they all want to be authors. So now it's an additional draw as to, if you work with me, you can be an author. You can write an article in my magazine. My power partners at what I currently do, people who are web designers, people who are SEO experts, and people who help with HR background and all that other good stuff for my clients, they all write articles regularly. And so I asked them, and so I have this great, how to grow this, workforce trends, how to sell your business. It's going to be an amazing thing, and I'm very excited for it.
When will that come out?
I was hoping the 15th of March, but
already. I wasn't expecting that soon. Okay.
By March 31st.
Nice. Okay. And it'll be available online?
It'll be online and print. Online, I'm not going to charge anybody for it. It's meant. I'm using the magazine as a marketing tool. So when people read it, they will clearly know where to go to help grow their business and whatnot. I'm also helping people start home care businesses. So if anybody's thinking about starting one, I have all the processes in place to be able to help them get the license. Because starting a home care business, just like running one, is very different from most. And you can't just start a business. You get the LLC, that's part of it, but then you got to get an actual license and board of nursing. You got to have standard operating procedures because it's healthcare based. So there's a lot that goes into it, but we're actually almost ready to take our first client on that side of it to help them open up a business as well. And if people want to buy the actual print copy of it, we're selling it for $20, and that's only because it cost me like $12 to print it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got to send it to you. So.
Where can we get that? Because we'll definitely pick up a copy.
Yeah. Go to my website, homecareevolution.com, and there'll be a link on there. It's not live yet, but it will be live, and you could totally go there and see it. I'm going to be plastering it all over my social media in the next couple of days. People can register early for it too.
Okay.
And you said you have an event coming up, and how would we be able to, or anybody be able to come to your event, your 10-year event?
Sure. Absolutely. It's the Home Care Evolution Conference. And so it's going to be June 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be right at the Marriott Hotel that is on site at the Newark Airport. So as you know, because you guys live in Jersey like I do, the Newark Airport is a New York City suburb airport. So for our perspective, because we have people that come from all over the world, we sometimes get people from Great Britain and Canada that come as well. So having it right at the airport is very convenient. And then being there, they could just jump on the subway train and go right to Manhattan, which is a tourist spot that people want to travel to. So it's a great location. It's 3 days long. And 10 years now doing this. This will be my 25th event that I've done in the last 10 years. And it's going to sell out. 250 is max. I think right now, today, we already have like almost 25 people, which is a lot this early on.
Yeah, it's not until June. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's usually like the month before. That's when it really picks up the ticket sales. But and right now we're doing early bird special. It's $6.99 a ticket, early bird, and then when it goes to full price, it's $9.99. But they really are the best event in this industry, and that's not me bragging. That's based on countless testimonies and feedback that I've received over the years.
Nice, and that's a good discount, $200 discount. So if you do it now,
save a lot of money.
Save that money.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially
Exactly.
now.
Save that money.
Save it for gas.
Right?
You're gonna need it. But I find it so interesting. I think in Europe they're paying like $10 a gallon for gas. So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna complain too much.
No.
It's like $4 a liter. That's why. And so it's like 3 liters for a gallon. That's the reason why they're paying $10 a gallon. It's crazy.
I know it is. It's nuts. But all right, is there anything else you wanted to add or say?
The only thing I would just add is, again, if somebody's looking to start a business, do it, and then I'll shift focus more to like personal stuff. It's, you know, being in healthcare for as long as I've been in healthcare, where we're going on 17, 18 years now. And it's interesting to see. And I remember very early on, like 2005, 2006, when I started to see the elderly patients who lived their lives and how they handled being close to the end of their life versus the ones who didn't live their lives, and seeing people with a lot of regrets. And I don't want
That just
anybody.
gave me chills. 'Cause I've heard that before from someone. Yeah. So it just makes you think, about your own life. And that's just, yeah, I've heard that before. So it's like thinking to, you don't want to regret anything. I always try to say that, I lost my mother very young. So I always just say life is so short. You never know. You never know. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've heard that before. So it's like, people that are around elderly people that are in their final days, and you hear that from people who haven't lived and have that live with that regret, and then you realize it when it's pretty much too late. It's just so sad.
And that is what I want people our age to avoid, and I belong to a lot of groups I see on social media, and I see a lot of people complaining, or I see a lot of people not really living their best life. And it does sadden me, because I know one day, and a lot of people don't really think about the future. I think one of my disadvantages that I have, while it's great that I think about the future, sometimes I spend too much time thinking about the future and I miss out on the present. But, you got to find that balance. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw something real quick, and then I'll explain it. And
I feel like I wish I would have spent more time thinking about the future years ago, but
you don't
it's
realize
never
that
too
until
late.
you get older. It's like when you're in your 20s, you're not really thinking about the
Yeah,
future.
it has a lot to do with the way you're brought up too.
That too.
You have to teach your children that and instill that in them, which is, what I try to do now with my kids, learning from, the way I think with every generation, that's kind of what happens, right? We try to be better with them and learn from the way we grew up, the mistakes we made along the way.
It's true.
you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's so true, and it's so important that we do teach the next generation to make these priorities. And you got to spend that time, and you got to focus on it. And I think like you mentioned, you lost your mother at an early age, and I'm sorry to hear that, but you got that wake up call. You know what I mean? Like you got that realization that, you only live once, and you got it. And I see you're living your best life. You're always doing something. You're always traveling. You're always doing this and that and whatever. And I know part of it is we're putting it out there. I understand that. But the other part of it is you are actually doing it, versus the folks who are not doing it. And it's not a knock on those who aren't. It's more of I want them to be able to have that experience as well. Mm-hmm. So I drew here, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but I call these the 5 wellnesses, right? And so what we do, and I teach all of my clients this, you have your physical wellness, you have your mental wellness, your financial wellness, your social wellness, and your spiritual, right? And each of these areas, these represent what we need to have balance in. For example, like your physical, which logically it makes sense. Well, if I'm healthy and I'm strong, I can do stuff. Yeah. Conversely, I get cancer, or, I'm morbidly obese, I'm not going to be able to do things. So I got to take care of myself so that hopefully I don't get that situation, because if I'm incapacitated, then I'm going to go under. Right. And so with this wheel here, what I teach people to do is I teach people on these lines to rank themselves where they feel they fall in each of these categories. So like physically for myself, and Vanessa, you see me online, I'm always working out. I go to a nutritionist, I take care of myself and whatnot. I keep my body fat, not like low, but I keep it low enough that I can still live. I want to
feel healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's healthy. I'm at like 18% body fat, so that's actually the high end of an athlete, but still that's healthy. So I rank myself a 9 there. Mentally, I rank myself at a 9 there. I read books constantly. I work at it. And with the mental aspect, if I feel that I'm starting to get depressed, if I feel that I'm starting to get too absorbed in something, or some force is bringing me to a dark place, I'm conscious enough to know I need to pull back and remove that. That's a healthy mental place to be. And when these numbers slide down, because I self-evaluate myself on a regular basis, I know to put more effort in certain areas. Financially, I rank myself at a 10, and it's not a 10 because I'm this mega, mogul, whatever. There's plenty of people who do more than I do financially. It's rather, what is my relationship with my money? Am I blowing every dollar that I spend? Or, yeah, I may make money, but am I doing unethical, legal things to get that money? Well, that's not a healthy relationship either, right? So, what is your relationship with it? Do you understand it, et cetera? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we were just listening. We're agreeing with you.
I thought you were saying something. And then, social relationships, I rank myself at a 9 there. What is your relationship like with the people that matter most to you? I have a great relationship with my kids. Once a month, I do a day or at least some activity with each of my kids individually to make that time with them one-on-one, as well as family stuff. My wife is my number one most important person in my life. I have a great marriage because I understand, and she understands, that, getting married, well, that was a couple of years, but we're planning on being married the rest of our life. So it takes a lot of work, having a date night twice a month, making that a priority, having a babysitter. A lot of folks don't do that stuff. And that's why the divorce rate is so high. I'm a minister at my church. I counsel to other people. I serve hundreds of clients, tens of thousands of followers online. I have to have a good place with it. Plus, understand boundaries, and again, removing toxic people so that I can continue to keep this going. That's a work in progress forever. And then last but not least is spiritual. And I rank myself a 10 here. I practice what I preach. I am a religious person. Not to say that someone has to.
I love reading your scriptures and I love reading them. Yeah. You're one of the people that do post that. I know a lot of people don't anymore. So for me, it's really nice. And I love seeing that.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's, and the reason why I do this, and then so what I teach people to do is now I have them connect the dots, right? And so as I connect my dots, there's a circle within a circle. And this circle should be well-rounded enough that if it was a wheel on a car, you could drive on it without it being an issue. But now what I teach people is, say my mental health, say I'm in a very depressed state, I'm very cynical, I'm angry all the time, I'm pushing people away because of how I feel, I might even be borderline suicidal, I'm in a very, very dark, bad place, and say I rank my mental health at like a 2. So even if everything else is high, but now all of a sudden you got this line that goes like this from here to here, and then here down to here, right? So now you see that line. If you're rolling around driving and you're driving, all of a sudden you get to that mental, it's going to slam, right, and hit the ground. That's when you have a nervous breakdown. That's when you end up institutionalized, and now you or your family does an intervention to save your life and bring you back. And the reason why I share this is because when I first started doing this was 2014. So here we're talking about business. My business was falling apart. My marriage was falling apart. I had zero relationship with my kids. I was broke. I was complaining constantly, and I was this close to almost giving up on my faith, right? So that well-rounded person that you see now that I was showing you where I would rank myself now, if I would have ranked myself then, I would have put myself at like 1s, 2s, or 3s in each of those areas. And I just had this moment, it was September 2nd, 2014, where I fell on my knees and I just surrendered to God. And I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of the mess that I'm in. I know the scriptures. I know what I'm supposed to do from my faith, but I can't do this. So, and I also know that I'm not doing what you told me to do. So I'm just going to trust you. I'm going to start living the way you told me to live. And I need a miracle. And I got up and the first miracle was the business. I walked into my office after that morning, and I mean, like, I'm tears, crying, everything. And I compose myself, I get dressed, I come to the office, and then our phones are ringing off the hook. And we generated more revenue in that day than half of the entire month before. And then the next day we matched what we did on that Tuesday. So it was Tuesday, Wednesday, September, we did what we did the entire month before. And I'm like, that's a miracle. And I said, there's
that's
something
when you
to
know
this.
it's God's hand in it, for sure.
Mhm.
And that's when I changed my ways. And I went from, instead of complaining about what I didn't have, I started appreciating what I did. And I came from a place of appreciation. I'd wake up every day and say, you know what? I have air in my lungs. I have a roof over my head. I have my wife. I have my children. I have, food in the refrigerator. There's a little bit of money in the bank at that time. And then slowly all these other things started to come to be. So I put that spirituality first, got that to a 10. And then everything else slowly filled out so that I can be balanced. And then now I can better serve my community. I can serve my friends. I can serve my clients better because I'm in a better place. I'm my best self so that I can now serve other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That was truly amazing. How do you find the time to balance it all?
It's not
so much that you do. And then I know you said you spend time with your kids. So it's like, how do you, I think that's where I always feel, because I try to do so much. My kids are in activities, and I feel like that's sometimes you get that guilt. Cause it's like, all right, did I spend enough time with this, or did I, and I think that's where I struggle.
She's always on the go. Like, she does not stop. And I don't know where she finds the time to get sleep. And I think that's why she's asking you.
I slept 4 hours last night. Yeah. I don't sleep too much right now, but
It is definitely not easy, yet it's easier than we think. And so why do I say that? Because to make it easier than we think is we just got to change our habits and our priorities. So less time in front of a television screen, less time doing things that are wastes of time, and being able to identify what is a waste of time versus what isn't a waste of time. Less time on social media. So here it is. It's crazy. I'm a social media. My business came from social media. So it's understanding time and place and the time put into it. So instead of making it all day, every day, it's this is my social media time, and limit it to that. The other thing I would say is get really good at saying no. And so that this way you understand your priorities. I think too, another thing that I teach people is I call it like the way of the world versus the way that it should be. And the world has us put priorities on work, generating revenue, to have money, to do things, right? And so then other things don't take the priority. The way it should be is prioritize, God, universe, your soul first, because that's your source. Prioritize yourself second to that, prioritize your spouse or significant other third, and your children fourth, in that order. And when you put them in that priority and you look at how many hours you have a week, if that priority, those 4 areas, depending on what you have and what you don't, but that area, that's the priority. Once you have that satisfied, then it becomes really easy, because then all of a sudden it's like, well, what matters to me most, I have a good grip on, and now I have the support of my wife, and my kids are proud of me, and I spend time with them. Now that they go to school, and then I'm going to go to my business. Now I can actually serve and put my time in, and I put my 40 hours in. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I put 30 hours in when I don't have a lot to do. Great. Right now, it's more like 50-60 with the rebrand and the magazine and everything else. But I know, and my wife knows, that this 50-60 is temporary until I figure out the processes. And it's like, realistically, it's probably another month. I think by the middle of April, it'll be back to that 30-40 hours a week, which is the way that it should be. But, put those priorities in place. Prioritize what's important to you, Vanessa, because when you have your daughter, or you have your kids, you have all the things that you're doing, put them first, do that, and then learn to say no to things and cut back on other areas, and you'll get it all done.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, thank you so much, Steve. I'm so happy we were able to do this, and we were able to have you on our show. You're actually going to be our first video on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that you were able to gain some insightful knowledge and useful information from the episode, whether you were listening on our podcast or watching on our YouTube channel. We are so excited that we were able to share this with you. I know that we really enjoyed having him on, and we learned a lot just from, the short time that we were able to spend with him. So if there's any comments, questions, just reviews, or anything you want to share, please leave them in the comments or share them on any of our social media platforms. We will definitely get back to you promptly on any of the social media platforms that we're on. Be sure to follow Steve on his social media. And we look forward to having more guests on the show for you, but definitely let us know what you think.